Hello. Back again with the Nuzlocke after God knows how long. This time jumping back into Sinnoh, where we'll attempt a run with Diamond's team from the Pokémon Adventures manga. I quite like doing these types of Nuzlockes, since it really forces me to play with a team I usually wouldn't, and I've actually ran Diamond's team a number of times in my own time. This doesn't mean that this run will go all that smoothly though, it came with its own fair share of challenges. But before we go further into the video, here on the screen are the usual hardcore Nuzlocke rules. I believe people are mostly familiar with them. I have included these on the video description as well, so you can read it there if you need a reminder. In the Adventures manga, Diamond boasted 7 Pokemon that are currently in its main team rotation: a Munchlax, Torterra, Bastiodon, Lickilicky, Mamoswine, Rotom, and a Regigigas. We won't be using the Regigigas for obvious reasons, so we are left with the rest. It's also worth noting that I won't be using a Munchlax in this run, but we'll get into why a bit later. As for the nicknames, I'll keep it faithful to the American English translation of the manga instead of the Singaporean one, so for the first time in a really long while, I will be abandoning my Popo suffixes. But don't fret, it will make a comeback someday, somewhere. If you do enjoy the content, please do leave a like, it's free. And if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment on the video. It will surely help with the algorithm, it hasn't been too kind on this channel lately. We are supposed to be Diamond, but we won't be able to become Diamond entirely, so for this run we will stay as a Fool for now. We named our rival Pearl to stay faithful to the manga, though it's a shame we won't be able to change Dawn's name into Platina. One important thing that we have to get correct before we start a run is our trainer ID, which had to be even. The reason for that is the Shield and Armor fossil, which only appears in the Sinnoh Underground with an even trainer ID. So with that cleared, there was no need to restart the save file, and we ventured out of our own house. Early game in this run was largely uneventful, with us picking the starter Turtwig from the starter trio and naming it True. We went along with Pearl's whims and was finally able to be free of the game's tutorial, after Dawn's final meddling that is. We went through the game's opening some more as we delivered Pearl's parcel and obtained the Poketch. Next up was the second rival battle, where we couldn't really do much but to spam tackles. With an adequate level, we were able to overcome Pearl's Starly and Chimchar by repeatedly throwing True's body at them. Avoiding most of the trainers on the way to Oreburgh was light work, and we went to the mines to fetch Roark. This first batch was supposed to be easy enough, with True having the type advantage over Roark's team. However, I went for a pretty low IQ move, thinking I could stay in full health with Absorbs before facing the Cranidos. The Onix stacked 2 Screeches, and I saw True's death coming from 4 junctions away. So much for having practiced this run before. Straight into attempt number 2 we go, this time combining Diamond and Fool for good luck. Sinnoh, please welcome Direfool. What the hell is his name, dude? In hindsight, naming our character Duel would have probably been better. Early game went exactly the same as the first attempt, and luckily we also landed on an even trainer ID as well for this run. We picked up the Turtwig and named her True again, delivered Pearl's parcel, obtained the Poketch, bested Pearl to the east of Jubilife, fetched Roark for the second time, and we finally arrived at the first gym fight. True took down Roark's Geodude with 1 Razor Leaf, and unfortunately wasn't able to one-shot the Onix again. True received 1 Screech and ended the Rock Snake, welcoming the Cranidos onto the battlefield. True was able to hit first with her Razor Leaf and luckily scored a critical hit. A stroke of good luck after our first run. Going forward, we had to catch a Bidoof south of Jubilife, where this godly Pokemon would serve as our HM buddy for the rest of the game. We made our way north and encountered Team Galaxy for the first time in this game. We were able to win the battle after Professor Rowan's lengthy lecture. This double battle was won quite easily, and we continued venturing north to Florama Town, where the Galaxy presence was still felt strongly. After beating the Galaxy Grunt standing guard in front of the Windworks, True reached level 18 and was able to evolve into a Groudle. Before continuing with the game, we taught True Return, and ran back and forth between Florama Town and the Windworks to maximize True's friendship points. This took about 25,000 steps. Command of Mars was our next hurdle, and we sent out our only Pokemon out to battle. I planned to begin the battle with a lot of curses, but only managed to pull off 1 due to the Zubat pulling a Toxic. Even though the Zubat went down with 1 return, I feared this might be the end of the second attempt. True tanked a Fake Out from the Purugly, and hit a return that brought down the Purugly's health down to orange. With the big cat outspeeding True, surely this was over. I guess not, as True stayed in the game with only 7 health. True pulled off 1 more return, and ended the fight before another Toxic Affliction hit. Talk about a close call. The Windworks was free from the Galaxy occupation, and we had to go back to the Pokemon Center. I had to play it safe and spam potions to get True to the Pokemon Center without fainting. And now came the hardest part in the early game, avoiding overleveling. Since we only have 1 available Pokemon, I tried my best to avoid all of the trainers from Florama to Eterna Forest. However, as I got to the forest, I realized that with the mandatory battles in this area, it definitely would have been impossible to keep True below the level cap of 22. So, instead of restarting the run because of this, I opted to make an exception for the next 2 mandatory trainer battles, putting the Bidoof I caught earlier to battle. Even if I fought Mars at a way lower level, with the barrage of mandatory trainer battles in the forest and Eterna Gym, it doesn't seem like I could keep True below level 22. After a short while, we made it to the end of the forest and decommissioned HM Purpose, the Bidoof. Arriving at Eterna City, things can finally progress as we obtain the means to add another party member, the Underground Kid. We spent a fair bit of time in the underground chipping away bits of the wall to dig up a fossil. We finally found the armor fossil and made our way back to Orberg. Unfortunately, we couldn't use the cycling road or the shortcut, so we had to take the long way back around through Florama. This whole bit took a while, but we finally revived the fossil and got our second party member, Dawn. What a cute Pokemon. We trekked back to Eterna, beat the 3 high EXP yielding gym trainers, and finally earned our right to battle Gardenia. The Gardenia fight in itself was quite straightforward in terms of strategy, as True took the time to set up 4 curses against Gardenia's very own Turtwig. After that, True would spend the rest of the battle firing out returns. The Turtwig was understandably the tankiest, and Gardenia's 2 remaining Pokemon were quite brittle. The Roserade managed to paralyze True, but that was nothing a well-placed held Cherry Berry couldn't solve. Gardenia was quickly bested, earning us our second badge of the run. We exited the gym to find Pearl mucking about, and this lady that started a chain reaction of many R34 images. With Gardenia's defeat, we also gained the rights to use the Cut HM, enabling us to go to the mansion over at Eterna Forest. We set the base time past 8 PM and pulled this Rotom out of the TV. I actually went to this encounter underprepared in terms of Pokeballs and caught the Rotom with my last Pokeball. That was an extremely clutch moment. The Rotom was unfortunately named Rotom as per the manga, and we moved on to face our next challenge. And comes another of my personal major hurdles in Nuzlocke, the Eterna Galactic building. This purple mommy fight has always been a tough one in my experience, and one that I could have probably leveled more for. My approach for this battle was the same as the Gardenia fight, stack curses and deal damage with return. When the Skuntank came around at the end, I counted the damage, so I was pretty confident I would survive the last hit, but I definitely wasn't playing around critical hits. There are going to be spots where I decided to leave it to chance, but I'll explain why when we get to it. Cynthia left an egg in our care, and we received the free bicycle from the old geezer we saved from the Galactic building. We met Spaceman again and hastily made our way to Hearthome City, where the next gym battle was located. But first, we had to catch up with our mother at the contest hall and tell Fantina to go back and do her job correctly. After failing the second part of the gym's puzzle time and time again, we finally made it to Fantina's room. We sent out Rotom first to quickly deal with the Duskull. I considered the double team strat for this battle, but the Mismagius would just one-shot Rotom if it manages to hit. So I opted to switch for Dawn and hit a Swagger, then just wasted turns in hopes it would damage itself. We only needed it to damage itself once, so I was pleasantly surprised that it happened twice. We made the switch to True, who was holding a Dreadplate, and tried to go for a chunky bite. Unfortunately, True got confused, and things did get a bit tense at the end here. We would have been in a pinch if True didn't fight through the confusion, but things turned out well. The subsequent Haunter missed the Hypnosis, and True fought through yet another crucial confusion. Really thought I would have to restart here, but True pulled us out of the abyss. We got the third badge and headed on over to fight Pearl yet again, where Rotom absolutely cleaned house. After that Fantina fight, this battle was undeniably satisfying. As we progressed through the game, we encountered another party member, this Lickitung here. We named it Kit, just like how Diamond did. You know, I poke fun at Crash Awake's design every now and then for being a literal luchador, but I actually really like his design. But then we had to shift our focus on Maylene, the Loli gym leader. In preparation for this fight, Dawn managed to evolve into a Bastiodon, and True achieved her final form, a Torterra. A very welcome evolution at this stage of the game. As a result, True pretty much had no opposition in the gym battle, steamrolling all that stood in her path. Fourth badge, check. Space. Dawn appeared again with yet another galactic encounter, so we had to help her out with getting her Pokédex back. We also picked up the Fly HM, meaning we had to catch a Pokemon designated specifically for Fly. As always, the Staravia will suffice. We spent the next set of minutes leveling Kit, enabling him to evolve after learning Rollout. Look at this chunky boy. I wanted to teach Kit Thunder Punch, so we spent a long time in the underground looking for shards. Absolute pain. We went to the Marsh Move tutor, and left with mixed feelings as to whether the grind was worth it or not. Next up was another Pearl battle, where Rotom squared off in a double team standoff with Pearl's Staravia. Rotom once again swept Pearl's whole team, though it could have easily gone the other way. As much as I like spamming double teams, it sure was tense. As for Crash Awake's gym fight, well, it went almost as expected. Rotom took care of Crash Awake's Gyarados with a Shockwave and actually almost died to the Float Cell's crunch. Kit had to take over and ended the Float Cell with Thunder Punch, and the Quagsire prompted True to come and finish things up. All in all, a solid performance from the team. We got the 5th badge and headed on over to solve the bomb crisis while Pearl had his priorities backwards. We chased this grunt around for a bit and ended his pathetic Pokemon's life and meaning. Cynthia came and complained about all the R34 fan art circulating online and scurried off after giving us a secret potion. Secret potion. We flew over to Salacion and headed north, where we used Cynthia's clandestine potion. Cynthia then dropped by and talked about the potion that we must not speak of and gave us a secret mission, meeting her grandmother. Over at Celestic Town, we had the pleasure of beating another bomb holder and Spaceman himself. This was a really good time to bust out Kit for his battling debut, sweeping Spaceman's team with a rollout set. Honestly, I was really thankful I leveled Kit quite a bit since he took a lot of damage in this fight. With the Surf HM safely in our hands, we made our way west and reached Canalave City, where another rival battle awaited us. I swore to myself that this battle was going to be the last one where I relied on Rotom's double team strat, because it got way too close. Rotom effectively downed the majority of Pearl's team up until the Infernape, where the Flame Monkey was able to hit 2 Flame Wheels despite the odds. Rotom was able to heal after the first hit due to the held Citrus Berry, but it was just barely able to survive the burn effect following the second hit. We switched to True for the Roserade and safely ended the battle with Earthquake. True took the lead during the Byron fight, starting off with a Curse buff. The Flash Cannon from the Magneton dealt more damage than I thought it would, so we attacked with an Earthquake right after to avoid more damage. True healed with the held Citrus Berry and finished the rest of the fight with more Earthquakes. I'm not sure if that missed Ice Fang from the Steelix would have killed True, to be honest. I completely forgot the Steelix had Ice Fang. I would like to believe True would have survived that hit because of the Curse buff, but that might just be me huffing on some major copium. We went to Iron Island next and got the Strength HM and just left. For the first time ever in the Gen 4 run, I decided to fight against my completionist instinct and avoid Iron Island altogether. You wouldn't believe the number of close calls I've had in this godforsaken hole. Raleigh can have fun in there all by himself. The A button was mashed for quite a while after this, with the game having to go through the regional terrorism section. After meeting up with Professor Rowan, Dawn, and Pearl, we divvied up our tasks and headed to our own lakes. We had a higher level average compared to the Galactic Commanders at this stage of the game, so beating them wasn't really a hard task. Rotom, Kit, and True took care of Commander Saturn, and Dawn, Rotom, and True bested Commander Mars's team. After taking care of the 2 lakes by ourselves, we were told to check up on Pearl all the way to the north. We reluctantly prepared for the trip and went to Mount Coronet to reach Snow Point. Being an area filled with risky trainers, I tried my best to avoid most of them. Thankfully, there weren't that many mandatory trainer battles on this stretch. We reached Snow Point City and headed back out, catching a Swinub west of the city. He was very creatively nicknamed Moo, named after Diamond's very own. Before continuing on with the story, we spent the time grinding for levels and heart scales, ultimately reminding Moo of the move Ancient Power. Not long after, Moo evolved into a Mamoswine. Visiting the game corner had to happen at least once in a Platinum run. Rotom really needed that Thunderbolt TM. And here we are with Candice. This gym had me scratching my head for a good bit because the majority of Diamond's team actually doesn't fare very well against these ice types. Going in, I decided to go with Kit and Rollout, thinking that if I lose Kit here, it wouldn't exactly be the worst thing to happen in this run, I think. So, equipped with the self-grown Citrus Berry, Kit committed to the Rollout. He managed to take out the Sneasel and the Abomasnow after the berry activating, and I thought this was the end of the Rollout set. Apparently, I was wrong. He continued. I had already said goodbye to Kit, but he survived the Frostlass's Blizzard and the Hail Hit, surviving on 18 HP. Rotom then came in against Candice's Piloswine and ended the battle promptly. We finally reached our goal of Lake Acuity, only to find Pearl beaten senseless by Commander Jupiter. Pearl experienced some major existential crisis here, and we left the scene as quickly as we came. Over at Veilstone City, we briefly met Looker to progress the story, and onwards we go to tackle the final Galactic headquarters. We stealthily crashed the company rally and snooped around the building while beating up the Galactic grunts. When it came time to fight Spaceman himself, we led with Dawn. We took the time to set up a stealth rock and hit with a metal burst after. Honestly, we should have just gone with an Ancient Power from the beginning. It was getting too risky for Dawn, so we switched to Rotom, which I really thought would outspeed Spaceman's Crobat. Rotom almost hit the sack as a result, prompting a switch to Moo from our side after scoring a Thunderbolt. Moo's priority Ice Shard was key in this exchange, winning us the battle. We headed further in the headquarters to find Saturn, battling him once more. Rotom was able to easily down his Golbat and Bronzor, and True made the ground shake once to bury this devilish looking frog. The Lake Trio was freed of their shackles, though we were too late to stop the production of the red chain. Scaling Mount Coronet was nice and tense, avoiding these grunts was not easy. We had leveled up plenty beforehand, so it was important that we avoid these battles to not overlevel. I always have the hardest of times trying to describe this double battle against Commanders Mars and Jupiter, because more often than not this battle was just a battle. It rarely takes any strategizing for me, it was just a switch fest to whatever works against the Pokemon they have out. Pearl always ended up leaving with a team of injured Pokemon, serving his role well as a meat shield. With the defeat of the two commanders, we stepped up to stop Spaceman, only to find that we were a step too late. Spaceman ended up jumping headfirst into the Distortion World, with us and Secret Potion Lady following close behind. This Platinum video is the 6th Platinum run I've done on this channel, and I still can't remember which way to go at this part of the game. Good chunks of minutes were spent trying out different ways to go, instead of just looking it up to save time. Maybe one day I can get through this area with my eyes closed. Finally, it was time to battle Spaceman. As I've said in the beginning of the video, this Diamond Team run was something I've practiced a couple of times in my spare time during commutes, so I found a pretty effective strategy for this battle, or at least I thought I did. Spaceman opened with his Houndoom, so we sent in Kit for the rollout strat, equipped with a Raspberry in case he gets burned. With rollout locked in, Kit was about to take out the Houndoom and Honchkrow, but I noticed Kit was taking in more damage than I thought he would, despite the fact that I EV trained Kit defensively for a bit. Perhaps I didn't spread the EVs correctly, but this waterfall from the Gyarados absolutely made me tense up quite a bit. To top it off, it also caused a flinch. Usually, Kit would have also finished off the Gyarados, so I was a bit in the dark here. I switched to Rotom and tanked a waterfall on the switch-in, ultimately ending the Gyarados with a Thunderbolt. Rotom wouldn't last a second against the Weavile, so I switched to Dawn, objectively the best type matchup that I have against the Weavile. After setting up a Stealth Rock, Dawn spammed Ancient Powers for decent damage, but she ran out of PPs in the end, and Spaceman healed. Great. I mentally clocked out at this point, thinking that this was going to be the point that I reset, so I spammed Strengths while fast forwarding. To my surprise, Dawn actually took down this Weavile, surviving on 4 HP. With hope of continuing the run with a full team restored, I immediately turned off the fast forward function and did a little dance in real life. Dawn, you beautiful beast. The Stealth Rock did decent damage to the Crobat, and I sent out Moo to clean up the rest with his priority Ice Shards. This battle almost took the soul out of me. Spaceman was beaten, went on his sore loser ways, and we challenged Giratina for the next boss fight. With Moo at the helm, we could have won the battle easily with 3 Ice Shards, as you can see here, but I decided to evoke Mercy on this Ghost Centipede looking dragon and captured it with a Master Ball. I couldn't pass up the chance to name it Giratina, it's almost tradition at this point. We went back to Sanjam to find Professor Rowan absolutely relieved at our safety, and we hastily made our way to Sunny Shore City to enable our final gym battle. We talked to Flint, Volkner, and then Flint again, finally able to challenge this demotivated piece of blonde ass. We opened with True for the battle, and stacked 4 Chris's as the Jolteon scored Iron Tails. Unfortunately, one of the Iron Tails scored a crit, and I was wondering why the Citrus Berry wasn't healing. That's because I forgot to put one. I decided to take another chance with the Earthquake, ultimately ending the Jolteon's life. I took yet another chance with the Raichu, knowing True would survive a non-critical hit, and survive she did, taking down the rat with an Earthquake. We switched to Dawn for the Luxray, setting up Stealth Rock and spamming Ancient Powers. Dawn managed to get 2 Omni Boosts, so I was pretty confident she would down the Luxray. I tried to switch Pokemon after, but the stupid controls made it seem like I was trying to run away. The dishonor it brought me was immense. Kit tried to finish off the battle, but the Electivire was scoring good Thunder Punches. Kit's last Rock Climb managed to confuse the Electivire, and Moo safely ended the battle with an Earthquake. And that was it. We won the battle, getting ourselves the last badge of the region. Having qualified for the Pokemon League, we were gifted the Waterfall HM and ventured north to the Pokemon League to challenge the Elite Four. Getting through the victory road was manageable, but Pearl of course stood in our way one last time. This was actually one of the 2 fights that I was dreading because I had to depend on Rotom's double team strat again. It's extremely risky at this point because Rotom is very squishy, so if Pearl's team manages to beat the odds, Rotom would eat the floor. But we didn't have much choice, our team was just a bad matchup for Pearl's. So Rotom came in and did its thing with the double teams, all the while tanking aerial aces. Now you might be thinking, why would you let Rotom tank this much damage? That's because I've slapped a Shell Bell on Rotom's behind, making it possible for Rotom to regain health every time it attacks. These Staraptor and Floatzel provided ample HP for Rotom, and the confusion marked the end of the Roserade. Now, the Infernape. I thought about this one for a while and I asked myself, should I risk it? Should I risk the Shadow Claw hit? Why do I like going for risky plays so much? This is surely a run-ending exchange. Well, let me tell you this, nothing beats the adrenaline rush for when you win the gamble. I pressed the Thunderbolt button knowing there's no going back, and sure enough, the monkey survived the Thunderbolt and missed his Shadow Claw. Hell yeah. In hindsight, I should have enabled the recording for my mic here, it probably would have made this moment better in the video, but I couldn't really think straight with my heart beating in my mouth. These kinds of exchanges are probably the main culprit of my runs ending, and the runs that did end with me losing these exchanges get put off for a long time and don't get uploaded. You kinda lose your will to continue after losing these situations. In any case, True was able to down Pearl's Heracross and Kit won the Chunky Boy contest against his Snorlax. Now we can actually challenge the Elite Four. Now, I hear you asking, but where's Diamond's Munchlax? Where is he? Well, he's stuck in some fucking honey tree somewhere in Sinnoh. I tried looking for him in this run, I really did. I used the Cave of Dragonfly's honey tree generator thing to find the exact honey tree, and still can't find the blasted thing. I spent a lot of time trying. He's somewhere in the honey trees, living his best life. So with a heavy heart, we step forward to challenge the lead four. Aaron was up first, and I swear this will be the last fight that you'll see the double team strat. Aaron's Yanmega likes to spam his double teams, so we did the same with Rotom, resulting in another weird double team face-off. Rotom ended the Yanmega with a shockwave and swept the rest of the team with thunderbolts in a safe and controlled environment. Bertha was up next, and Moo dominated the majority of this fight with his Icicle Plate held item, sweeping most of Bertha's team with ice shards. It got risky at the end with the Hippowdon, so Kit helped out with Surfs. And now it was time for Flint. This was the battle I was dreading the most. If you couldn't tell by now, Diamond's team leaves a lot to be desired. It's weak to a lot of monotypes, fire included. Flint started off with his Houndoom and I led with Dawn, assuming the usual Stealth Rock setup. Dawn tanked a Flamethrower and retaliated with a Metal Burst. I should have just gone with the Stone Edge. The Shell Bell did heal Dawn a bit, but it wasn't enough. Luckily, Flint switched to his Infernape, making the Stone Edge deal a nice chunk of damage to the Flame Monkey. I switched to Rotom to render the Earthquake useless and used the Thunderbolt to safely end the monkey. The Houndoom was back out, and I used a Shockwave to whittle its health down. The next turn, Rotom used another Shockwave to save Thunderbolt's PP. The Flareon was next, and this time we fired a Thunderbolt, though it failed to down the evolution. The Flareon used a Will-O-Wisp, and surprisingly, Flint didn't go for a heal. The Rapidash was next, but it went down pretty quickly to a Thunderbolt after receiving damage from the Stealth Rock entry. Finally, it was time for the Magmortar. I hate this thing. Anticipating a Solar Beam, I incorrectly made the call to switch to Kit, placing him on the wrong end of a critical hit. I switched Kit out for Dawn after a long while. There's no two ways about it. It really seemed like I had to sack Dawn for a fresh turn. Dawn went out and ate a Flamethrower, surviving on 59 HP. I forgot to take note of her previous health, so I can't really tell, but I clicked Stone Edge with the intention of sacking Dawn. Imagine my surprise when she survived on 5 HP, taking down the Magmortar with a Stone Edge. She was a true hero. Lucian was next, and the adrenaline was starting to wear off. True went in first to take out his Mr. Mime with a Dread Plate boosted Crunch, and Dawn came out next with a Stealth Rock setup. Dawn and the Espeon went back and forth for a bit, ultimately ending in the Bronzong being sent out. Rotom was chosen next to circumvent the Earthquake and took out the Bronzong with a number of Shadow Balls. Rotom continued to take out the Espeon as well, welcoming the Alakazam to the field. I switched to Kit for the Alakazam, tanking the Psychic hit well, but I stupidly forgot it had Focus Blast. This blunder was incredibly real and fatal, but holy shit, Kit survived a Focus Blast hit and murdered the Alakazam with a Rock Climb. Lucian sent out his Gallade, and I thought switching to Rotom would be the safest in anticipation for a fighting type move, but the bastard went for a Psycho Cut. Why? Why would it go for a Psycho Cut when Kit was a normal type? It didn't matter why, Rotom was dead. We lost Rotom due to the confusing whim of the AI. We sent out True to avenge Rotom, which was successfully done after exchanging blows with the Gallade. Awful. And here I thought we would make it to the champion without losing a single team member. Lucian wasn't even that hard. But push forward we must as we step inside Cynthia's champion's room. Dawn took the lead for the last time, opening with another Stealth Rock setup. Dawn ate a critical Shadow Ball and nicely retaliated with a Stone Edge. Dawn applied satisfactory damage, prompting a switch from Cynthia. She sent out her Lucario, who ate the Stone Edge on the switch. I switched to True, tanking an Aura Sphere on the switch and another one after. True attacked with Earthquake, downing the fighting Canine, who is also prone to R34 fan arts. Cynthia's Togekiss was next, and we switched back to Dawn, who tanked the Air Slash hit on the way in. I absolutely forgot that Togekiss had Aura Sphere as well, so Dawn went down needlessly. God damn it. Moo was next and took down the Togekiss with 3 Ice Shards after tanking an Aura Sphere too. Honestly, things weren't looking too good. Her Milotic was next, so we switched to Kit, who was able to paralyze the Milotic after tanking a Surf. I just don't get how this Milotic survived the next Thunder Punch. Eventually, Kit downed the Milotic and we welcome her ace on the field. I decided to sack Kit here, as the Garchomp missed her Dragon Rush, allowing Kit to get a hit in. Kit fainted, allowing Mew to avenge him with an Ice Shard. Cynthia's Roserade was next, who also went down to an Icicle Plate boosted Ice Shard. Moo was absolutely having the time of his life. Finally, Cynthia was down to her opening Pokémon, Spiritomb. I actually had to compare the speed stats between a Mamoswine and Spiritomb here, hence why it took a while, and decided it was pretty safe to go for an Earthquake. With that, I surpassed my own expectations in terms of attempt numbers and finished this Diamond Team's Hardcore Nuzlocke. We registered the team with Cynthia and Professor Rowan and watched the credits roll. I definitely just stopped thinking much after that battle with Flint. In hindsight, I could have finished the whole Elite Four without anyone dying. But I guess a win is a win. Hopefully you've enjoyed this run with me, and do look forward to my next uploads. You might just find something you enjoy. Until then, take care.